I'm going to ask Helle from Nei to EU in Norway, which has been a bastion of keeping Norway out of the EU. And Helle and I go back some years, mixed up with team and so on and so forth from the beginning. So Helle has quite a bit of history around team, so I'm asking her to talk about the Norway position.
Last week, David Cameron said that Britain should not seek to emulate Norway by putting itself outside the European Union. In fact, Norway is happy and free outside. If anything, we would like an even looser relationship with the European Union. Opposition to EU membership in Norway is stronger than ever. The main arguments for staying outside are retaining our sovereignty and the democratic deficit of the EU. Still, we believe that Norway would be even better off by replacing our current agreement with a bilateral trade agreement with the EU. In 1997, the Norwegian people overwhelmingly rejected to join the common market in a referendum. The figures were something like 55 to 45, something like that, which is quite significant. The campaign was very divisive. It was the first sort of major political battle in Norway for decades. Families split up. Neighbours stopped talking to each other. It was really incredible. The scaremongering from the Yes camp was incredible. And I've sort of read a lot about the campaign in 1975 in this country, and the Norwegian one was worse, believe me. Yeah. Then things calmed down in Norway, and then in 1992, Norway joined the EEA, the European Economic Area, which is, I'll come back to that later a little bit, not only a little bit, but quite a lot. And then in 94, we had a referendum on the European Union. I just have to mention that only in 1905, Norway gained its independence. Before that, Norway was part of Denmark for 400 years, and then in the union with Sweden for almost 100 years. So, and that ended in 1905. So when in 1994, the Norwegian people were asked to join a European Union, they said no. No to EU, we are a democratic, grassroots, mass, everything organisation. We are opposed to Norwegian EU membership. We're not necessarily opposed to the EU, but we are really. But No to EU was the leading organisation on the No side in '94. It had 140,000 members in a country with only 4 million people. I tried to sort of calculate, and in Britain of today, that would mean an organisation with 2.2 million members. So it tells you something about the size of our organisation at the time. We were the biggest political organisation ever in Norway, far bigger than any of the political parties. We had the farmers, not only the ordinary farmer, we had the National Farmers Union backing us. We had the the fishermen, also their national union. We had many trade unions. Even the TUC had a vote at Congress, and they were supporting No to EU. We had most political parties, from the left to the right, with the exception, actually, of the two biggest parties, the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. But all other parties basically were on the no side. The president of No to EU in '94 was from the Labour Party, and the Secretary General would be in this country the Liberal Democrats. So you can see the No to EU was really a diverse organisation, and I think that was the key, basically, for us winning. The ordinary man and woman were involved as well. It was very much a fight between the elite or the establishment against the people. I commend both Vote Leave and Leave.eu. I think they're both great initiatives, and I don't think you should sort of put them up against each other. Both are needed, preferably working together, hand in hand, because my experience tells me that if you don't work together, you will not win. So I really do hope that you will be able to do that. I'll just give a few examples of what was actually said during the referendum campaign in '94 in Norway. The president of the Norwegian CBI said a few weeks before the referendum, "The referendum is about saying yes or no to 100,000 jobs." And what has happened? A Statistics Norway survey has showed that employment rose by 11,000 the first year following the referendum. And today Norway has one of the lowest unemployment rates in the EU, or in Europe.
The continent.
The continent, Europe. Yeah, when I say Europe, I mean Europe, continent. We also had a full, on the polling day, '94, there was a full page advert in a daily newspaper, paid by the Yes campaign, and it was saying, "If Norway votes no, the border with Sweden will be our border to the EU. The prize would be higher interest rates, the most expensive food in Europe, and fewer jobs." Ooh. So the major daily business newspaper in Norway reported, and only sort of within a few days after the referendum, said, "The value of the Norwegian krone has strengthened. The interest rate is falling, and the stock exchange is booming." So not exactly dire news. Both in 1972 and in 1994, during both referendum campaigns, fisheries was a key argument. Norway has, as you may know, a very long coastline, and therefore, for me it's natural, for therefore we have a lot of fish because we have a long coastline. But we had lots of fish in '72 and in '94, and even today we are blessed with a generous fish stock because Norway has had a sustainable fisheries policy throughout the years, unlike the EU with the common fisheries policy. The CFP has been a disaster, basically. We all know how British fishermen have suffered because of it, and I really think that's a shame that one group of people have suffered that. Yeah. And it doesn't stop there, really. The EU has signed fisheries agreements with countries in Western Africa and elsewhere in the world. The EU pays, because of this disastrous CFP, where there's hardly any fish left in the EU waters, the EU pays to fish in African waters, and then depriving local fishermen of their livelihood. So it's just basically a very vicious circle. Norway is a very long country. It's almost twice as long as Britain. I had to look it up, I didn't know. But it is, I thought, about the same, but no. So if you have sort of Norway and you do sort of, how can I say, tip it, project it onto Europe, you'll end up in Rome. And all sort of major institutions, the parliament, the government, everything is located in the south of the country, as in Britain, really. So for people living in northern Norway, Oslo is a far away, really. And one of the slogans used in '94 in the referendum was, "It's a long way to Oslo, but it's even further to Brussels." So, 3 national newspapers have carried out monthly opinion polls on EU membership in Norway. And that has been going on since the referendum in '94. So, and these polls have shown a no majority, a majority for not joining the EU consecutively for the past 10 years. So that is 10 years. So in 20 2015, so that's from 2005. So that's before the financial crisis hit. A lot of people would argue that because Norway's outside, because of the financial crisis, we have been against, but we were actually against the EU before that. And for the past 5 years, the no majority in the opinion polls have been around 70%. So it's not so bad being outside, to be honest. And in fact, these 3 national newspapers, they have ceased with the opinion polls because the outcome is so predictable. They say it's a waste of money because we all know it's going to be 70% no. So, okay, in 1993, Norway joined the EEA agreement, the European Economic Area, which is also sometimes in this country called the Norway option. I'm going to say the EEA agreement, but the EEA agreement is basically the single market with its 4 freedoms for goods, capital, services, and people, basically. But more importantly, the EEA does not cover fisheries, agriculture, monetary policy and the euro, trade policies with third countries, and the common foreign and security policy. So these are vast areas outside. This means we can manage our own fisheries and our own agricultural policies, so they're in line with what the country needs. And we have our own voice at the UN. In 2011, I was part of the official Norwegian delegation to the UN General Assembly. And the staff at the Norwegian UN mission, they didn't know my background. I was just part of the official delegation. They didn't know I was from No to You. So they just told me, I was talking to them, and they just said that Denmark and Sweden, the representatives from Denmark and Sweden, several times have come up to them and said, look, can you, so a piece of paper, or maybe not with a piece of paper, can you further this proposal for us at the UN, because we didn't manage to get the EU to agree with it. So Denmark and Sweden were voted out sort of around the table in the EU, but they still thought they had a good proposal, so they came to Norway to further the proposal. So, and I thought that was quite, let me see, I lost 5, 6. The EEA agreement means that Norway has to implement quite a number of EU directives, but not all EU directives. We had a public sort of, how would we say, review committee, set up by the previous government to assess Norway's relationship with the EU, they concluded, actually with their own figures. Well, they said that Norway was the 75% members of the EU, but if you look at actually what they wrote, their own figures said that of the total number of EU regulations and directives, like all of them, only 28% we have had to implement in Norway. So 28%, that's not a lot. We've also, if you look at how much money is spent in the EU, you'll see that more than half of the EU budget is spent on areas which are not covered by the EEA agreement or other agreements between Norway and the EU. So 70%, we are not members of the EU, but we are not even close to being sort of almost there. Another statement which has been, and I know you've heard that as well, is that Norway is governed by facts from Brussels, and it's not true. As I already told you, fisheries, agriculture, fiscal and monetary policies, foreign policies outside the scope of the EEA agreement. So therefore, Brussels does not have any say whatsoever in those areas. And we have the right of veto single directives in the EEA agreement. Norway has done so once. Yeah. So why has Norway only vetoed a EU directive once? It's not because of the EA agreement. It's because of the majority in the Norwegian Parliament, which is very Europhile. It's actually not at all on the question of the EU and EU membership. It's not, the Norwegian Parliament is not at all in line with the people. You would have around 75% of the Norwegian MPs are in favour of EU membership. So it's because the majority of MPs are dead keen to join the EU. They do not dare to upset Brussels. We did the third postal directive. The previous government actually decided to veto the directive. And all the proponents of the directive, they argue that the EU would punish Norway if we didn't implement this particular directive.
Okay.
But no, one more minute, please. Yes. That they would cease to buy our products and everything, but nothing happened. The current government has unfortunately reversed that decision, so now we're going to implement it. So I just say the EEA agreement, it's not only about EU directives and regulations, it's also about other things. The University of Oslo wanted to earmark a certain number of positions, postdoc positions for women. But then one person thought, oh, this can't be right, so he took the whole thing to the EFTA court, which is a parallel system to the EU, and he won. So even though equal opportunities as such are not part of the EA agreement, it still is. Defending a vibrant democracy has always been key to the people of Norway. It was key during the 2 referendum campaigns, and it's still a key argument. As a people, or as part of a pressure group, we are able to change policies in Norway. We don't have to go all the way to Brussels to do so. The EEA agreement is not an alternative to Britain, as it would in some ways still be ruled by Brussels. A trade agreement is the solution for both Britain and for Norway. We would be better off outside. Thank you.